today we're talking about cnidarians. And cnidaria comes from a Greek word, nidos, the C is silent, which means stinging nettle. And cnidarians and ctenophores were once grouped together as Selenirata. But now we just refer to cnidarians that we're looking at today. Now, as far as taxonomy goes, they're in domain Eukaryota, kingdom Animalia. The subkingdom is Euzoa. The phylum is Cnidaria, and we're looking at 4 classes. Anthozoa, which is your corals and sea anemones. Cubozoa, which is your box jellies and sea wasps. Hydrozoa, which are your hydroids, and Scyphozoa, your jellyfish. These are examples of Anthozoa, which is your corals and sea anemones, and you can see there the coral up in the top, and you know they're very beautiful. That's a brain coral you're looking at. There's the sea pen and the sea fan, and of course the sea anemone like Nemo lived in. Then you have Cubozoa. That's your box jellies, and they literally are shaped like a box on the top, and the tentacles hang from the 4 corners of the box. This structure hanging down here is its mouth. Hydrozoa, these are your hydra that have the tentacles on the top that you see there. And then the Portuguese man-o-war is actually in the class Hydrozoa, and it's just a colony of hydroids. And you have to be very careful on the beaches because you can get a painful sting even when they're dead and dried up on the beach, and children are especially at risk here. Scyphozoa, that's most of your other jellyfish that you're familiar with. Now, these are just representative species. There's thousands of them worldwide, and as we said, it's your hydroids, your jellyfish, your anemones, and your coral. Now, there are about 11,000 species, and most of them live in the oceans, anywhere from the tropics to the poles, and anywhere from the surface of the ocean to the bottom. Some of them even burrow down in the bottom of the ocean. A small number are found in freshwater, in rivers and lakes. They are radially symmetrical, and they do have the tissue level of organization, but they don't have any organs. Their bodies are diploblastic, which means they have 2 layers, sometimes 3. They have a gastrovascular cavity that's called the selenoron, but there's only one opening, and that opening serves as both the mouth and the anus, and often tentacles will surround that opening. Their body types, they're dimorphic. They have 2 body types, polyploid and medusoid. The polyp stage is like coral and anemones, where the tentacles in the mouth are facing up and the other side is fixed to a substrate. But the medusoid form is upside down with the tentacles facing down, and this is what we think of with our free-swimming jellyfish. But most of the cnidarians alternate between these 2 stages. However, there are some, like sea anemones and coral, that don't ever have the medusoid stage or form. Now, what makes cnidarians different is their stinging cells. They have a nematocyst that's a coiled, thread-like stinger. And when it's stimulated to fire, the thread uncoils and shoots straight like a harpoon through the wall of the cnidocyte and into the prey. And it doesn't take much stimulus. It can be just barely touching it. Most of them produce a toxin that helps to paralyze their prey, although there are very few that affect humans. And like I said, it can be just barely touching it, or it could be from a nerve impulse that's telling it to fire. And as we've mentioned, the medusoid, the tentacles hang down, and in the polypoid, the two tentacles face upward, and those tentacles can be moved to capture the prey. This is just some pictures of some humans that have been stung by the nematocyst. It doesn't really penetrate sufficiently unless I say you're a child, but they can be very painful. And the box jelly is one that can be fatal to humans, again, especially small children.